There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Riverside Stadium. We got there in the end. A little bit of a connection issue just as we hit record there. So hopefully you can hear us and see us. But we have got the Norwich City starting 11 for you here tonight. They're unchanged from that 0-0 draw against Rotherham on Monday. So they line up with Gunn in goal, Aarons, Omid Ahmedeli, who else? Sorensen and McCallum. Midfield two of Sarah and Gibbs. Hernandez, Sargent and Marquinhos behind Temu Pukki. The subs bench, Michael McGovern, Sam Byram, Isaac Hayden, Adamida, Marcelino Nunez makes the bench, John Rowe and Dimi Yanulis. So interesting there that John Rowe makes the bench, which I think David Wagner kind of hinted at in the week. So it's interesting to see that team news. Paddy, yes, let's get your reaction to that. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I think in terms of, feels like prior to Easter Monday, we were talking about limited kind of room for manoeuvre, really, in terms of what they could change it up. And if I cast my eye down to the bench, Yanulis over McCallum, I thought Sam McCallum did quite well for 60, 65 minutes, and then he cramped up a little bit, and I think that change was in progress anyway. But further forward, I mean, it is interesting. I mean, you did the presser, where are we now, Wednesday, wasn't it? Yeah. It sort of kind of intimated that we wouldn't see Nunez before next week, and likewise Johnny Rowe was just back in training. So the fact that both of those are on the bench tonight probably does indicate, in terms of his room for manoeuvre, it's fairly limited.
So no Abu Kamara and interestingly as well, no Tim Krul on the bench, which is interesting. Michael McGovern among the subs. So maybe you'll be able to. Is it Christos Solis who's dropped out as well? It is. So John Rowe and Nunez in for Abu Kamara, and Christos Solis. Michael McGovern comes onto the bench for Tim Krul. So some interesting. We're probably going to find ourselves talking about the bench a lot more than the 11, but some interesting kind of names on that bench.
Well, absolutely, yeah. I mean, how fit is a Nunez or a Rowe? Certainly Rowe. I think he's not kicked the ball competitively this season for various issues. Adamida, I thought it was a very, very, very revealing chat that he had earlier in the week, which we picked up with the Beautiful Game podcast. And if I look at that bench and I'm thinking of game changers, it's those three, really, isn't it? It's Nunez and Rowe, but two of those three, you'd have to question how fit they are, how much of an impact they could have. So is it Adamida, really, in terms of you wanting to change it if it's not happening from the 11 on the pitch? It's it feels almost tonight that it has to be that 11, really, who are going to have to do the business. I think if you're turning to your bench and you're looking for something from a Nunez and a Rowe who haven't really featured in Rowe's case, but Nunez, fitness-wise, for a few weeks, Byram, Hayden, Yanulis, I don't think any of those are going to really do too much to alter the dimension in terms of the attacking threat. So it's Adamida, really, isn't it? And, I've not seen the Borough lineup come through yet, but that's the thing that stood out for me is the quality that they've got to call on and the depth that Michael Carrick's got probably compared to Norwich on tonight's evidence when you look at the two sets of 11. So will the game tilt maybe through not so much the 11s, but those players on the bench? Hopefully not. Hopefully those 11 can find the clinical edge that was so absent against Rotherham. Some good things, some not so good things overall, and a feeling of frustration. But that can lift tonight. The 600-700 maybe have made the trip, the long trip, the wet trip.
It was a long trip as well.
Oh yeah, it was a long trip. Yeah, very long. I think an hour and a half on top of what we were already expecting. Very slow moving.
In the end.
Yeah, very slow moving. So kudos to those fans, and they'll want to see a lot more from their team with the ball than we saw at Carr Road on Monday. And I felt as after the game, and as that game sort of meandered to an inevitable stalemate, that this one might suit them better, because for me it looks a little bit like what we might have seen at Good Friday with Blackburn, another team up and around them at home, will be on the front foot, try and dominate the ball, try and dominate territory, and if so, Norwich will get chances on the counter. And I just think in transition with those 11 players, particularly Marquinhos and Onel and Sargent to a degree, you're probably going to feel Norwich are going to offer a bit more going forward than, as was illustrated for me again at Carr Road. There's a real issue there that David Wagner will have to solve moving forward. When teams come low block, let Norwich have the ball and basically challenge them to break them down. They haven't shown really over the entirety of this season at Carr Road. They've had the guile or the the imagination to do that on a regular basis. But I think tonight, the game you kind of feel it could be, who will be the aggressors, i.e. Borough. I think that might suit Norwich. So, time will tell. But I don't think they'll have it as hard as they did against Rotherham to try and break down that defence and try and get in and try and test the goalkeeper tonight. And if they do and create opportunities, then of course they need to take them far better than they have done in these really 5-6 games since Millwall. I mean, you take the Blackburn game out of the equation, they haven't scored since Millwall. And that's at this end of the season when the stakes are so high, that isn't good enough, really. So, I think it'll be an easier game for this Norwich 11 today compared to Monday in terms of the type of game. But obviously then Borough, clearly better players individually, better collectively than Rotherham. So, it maybe counterbalances a little bit. But, I'll throw it on back to you, Con. I mean, what type of game would you concur? You think it'd be more a Blackburn type of game than a Rotherham game?
Yeah, I would, and I would agree with what you've said there. I think that maybe the only difference is when we saw it work at Blackburn, it was with Sargent up front instead of Temu Pukki. So that's an interesting dynamic because that front two hasn't really clicked, has it? And obviously it's not a conventional front two because Josh Sargent plays in a bit more of a 9.5, 10 kind of role, but when those two have played in recent games, we haven't seen kind of a flurry of attacking output. So that's going to be really interesting. And I think actually if Adam brings up the Middlesbrough team, which I think he'll do in just a second, you can see just the amount of strength that they have. Some recognisable names in there from Norwich City's perspective, not least their captain, Johnny Howson, but also Aaron Ramsey, who starts for them today. Obviously, he spent the first half of the season on loan at Norwich City. They're up with Stefan in goal, Smith, McNair, Lenihan and Giles. That means Dale Fry misses the game today. Hayden Hackney and Johnny House in the midfield too. Marcus Force also finish. Chuba Akpom, who is the championship top scorer in the 10. Aaron Ramsey on the left. Cameron Archer, and we all know what he can do at this level up front for Middlesbrough. So it is a really interesting one. And again, you mentioned different tests. I'm thinking defensively there for Norwich City. They had Jordan Hugill to contend with on Monday. That kind of mateship. It's not quite mateship because Jakob Sorensen has played there before, but certainly not. I don't think you'd be playing there if everyone was fit. So I think we can probably get away with calling it makeshift. But Archer, Akpom, Ramsey, Force, different types of threats to what they had to deal with on Monday.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm trying to think when you're reeling those names off and you look at the bags of goals they've scored since Carrick's gone in there. Is there a better four in the Championship? You'd probably contend maybe Burnley have some excellent players in forward areas, but yeah, that feels quite potent for me. And we just saw a glimpse of him on the Sky cameras, actually. Young captain Andrew Omobamidele, huge responsibility on his shoulders. I thought he was good on Monday. Felt like he accepted the responsibility, he embraced it, and he wanted to lead through example through his performances. And there's absolutely no doubt if Norwich are going to get anything here tonight, him and Sorensen have to go above and beyond, I think, because there's no doubt, as much as we've said in the earlier segment, we hope Norwich can break the press and get through on transition and create opportunities. With those players, Borough are going to create opportunities, and then it'll be defensively how resolute that back four and Angus Gunn are going to be. And I'm sure when Wagner and his coaches have sat down in the last few days and tried to kind of scenario plan, any scenario they've come up with, they will know that back four and Gunn have to have an excellent game tonight and have to be really, really show their personalities as individuals and collectively, because it will be a test for them here tonight. Borough, they've had a stumble or two of late, but they still feel like a club who are going forward under Michael Carrick. We saw at Carrow Road how good they were. Familiar name in the middle of the park there, and Johnny House and all that experience, but still plenty of quality and can still influence games at this level. So, everything here feels like it's geared up to not only just get into the playoffs, but really, really have a good tilt at coming through the playoffs and joining Burnley and probably Sheffield United in the Premier League. For Norwich, it's still very much, can they find something? Can they find something in an attacking sense and also defensively, despite all these injuries now, to overcome almost adversity, get themselves into the top six and take their chances? I think with Borough, there's more of a certainty about the path that they're on over the rest of the season, and you'll probably see that tonight. And as a result, for me, that could be the game. If you want to break it down, it could be do Norwich's four and Gunn get the better of those four, and if they do, the platform there is then for Sargent, for Marquinhos, for Onel and Timu Puki to maybe go and make the difference at the other end of the pitch. But without them being resolute defensively against clever players like Aaron Ramsey, the potency of Akpom, Archer, excellent player as well. Then it doesn't really matter what they do as an attacking unit. It's all about can they stay in the game? Because there's no doubt there'll be periods here tonight when it feels like they're on the ropes a little bit and they're having to roll with the punches to a degree. But if they can weather those type of storms and weather those kind of spells, you just hope this is the night when it comes together in terms of the attacking. And of course, we've not even talked about it, but Gabi Zara, could it be a night where he really puts his personality on this and shows, I think, what we're starting to see now, that he is a cut above Championship football. And in this stage, in front of obviously a live televised national audience, international audience, go and show us what we all think he could go on to become, which is a very good player at a very decent level. So, you just hope it's a night where individuals in yellow and green step up, take the opportunity, and then we're talking about, well, really, we've left here thinking there isn't a huge difference between these two clubs. And I think I'm right in saying if Norwich win tonight, they'd only go 5 points behind Borough. I think that's fair to state. So, for all the sense of it's two clubs on maybe different trajectories at the minute, 5 points isn't a huge gap. So, it plays into, we're dealing in fine margins, but given they drop points on Monday, and we'll get into the predictions, but it feels like not necessarily must win because it is Borough tonight, but
definitely must not lose.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Because can you afford to lose more ground to the Millwalls, the Blackburns, et al., Preston?
It gives. I think Millwall play Preston tomorrow, so one of those at least is going to drop points. But it would give an opportunity for teams, Millwall, Blackburn, to go 4 points ahead again. With 4 games left, that feels quite a big total. You're essentially asking for a 2-game swing there, which, looking at Blackburn's fixtures wouldn't be impossible, but it would certainly be a blow to get beaten here tonight. And, of course, the assumption is that those teams would then go on and win tomorrow. I mean, you mentioned Middlesbrough having a little bit of a stumble. It's no winning 3. Obviously, that defeat to Huddersfield, everyone will know what I'm talking about when I mention that. They got beaten by Burnley as well, and then came from 2-0 down against Bristol City on Monday, away from home, to draw 2-2. So maybe a sign of a degree of fight back. They're going to have to win this one to kind of keep in touching distance of the top 2. I think we probably feel it's gone, and I'm sure a lot of the fans do. But the players, obviously, until it's mathematically impossible, have to keep going. Norwich themselves only have 1 win in 6. It's an interesting it's a perfectly poised game, but also there's an argument to suggest that it may well be, certainly since Michael Carrick took charge, one of the better times to face this Middlesbrough side, who maybe are dealing with the fact that Sheffield United have stolen the march on them. Luton are ahead of them now. Lots of kind of challenges there. So let's distill it down into predictions, Pad, as we sit here, just over 45 minutes to go until kickoff. How do you see this one going?
Because we've had the journey from hell, I've not really given it a huge amount of thought, Connor, to be brutally honest, and zoned out for the last 2 days. I mean, you have to probably fall on the side of Borough edge this game, and that's for me not so much because I don't think Borough are superior really. When I look individually, if Norwich players perform to the levels we know they're capable of, the problem is they haven't done it consistently enough. But pound for pound, I don't see a huge amount between the two sets of players. I just look at the recent form line, and okay, that is pertinent to point out that they've not won in 3, albeit they played Burnley and was it Sheffield United? Was the other team? Did you say?
No, Huddersfield and Bristol City.
Yeah, but for me, the concern is post Millwall, when you just thought Norwich were slipping a gear and away they went. It's actually gone the other way, and take Blackburn out of the equation, it hasn't been good enough. It hasn't really been convincing enough. So it's hard then to construct an argument that they can come here against a team doing what they're doing, still in with the, albeit probably forlorn hope of automatic promotion, but certainly will be a threat in the playoffs, whoever comes up against them. It's really hard for me to sort of really, with anything approaching sort of confidence, to sort of forecast a Norwich win. But so I'm probably erring on the side of maybe a 2-1 Borough, if I'm honest. But you're right. If that is the case, then particularly if the other teams cash in over this weekend, then it could look quite bleak going into the QPR game in terms of the top 6. So you hope that, like it did at Blackburn, focuses the minds. These players almost know they're in the last chance saloon and do what they did at Blackburn. Go out, fearless, and impose themselves on Blackburn and clinical on the counter, and fully merited the result that day. And it's more than within the gift of this group of players, even with the injuries, for me, to go and do something similar tonight. But I just think, because it's been a little bit patchy, to be kind, since Millwall, it's for me, I think it might be a bridge too far tonight, but you never know.
Yeah, I agree. I think Middlesbrough will win this one. If I'm being completely honest, and I've probably felt that all week building up to this one, which probably is why a lot of people felt the way they did after Monday's draw, right? So can I just say I would not be caught drinking coffee. I'll cover the brand name up, although we don't have to do that, but. Hot chocolate, I can assure you, you wouldn't find me drinking coffee. I've got enough energy as it is, so there we go. But yeah, I do think this will be a bridge too far. I agree. I think Middlesbrough in front of their home crowd, they probably need a win just to settle any nerves that is maybe building around here. So I can see this being a tough night. So I'm actually going to, what did you go, 2-1?
2-1 Borough.
Yeah, I'm going to go 2-0 Borough. I think I can sadly see Norwich's attacking struggles continuing, but I hope they prove me wrong. And of course, we'll be across the Pinken channels throughout the night if you wish to come and join us over on the Pinken Plus app, which you can take a month's free trial out for if you haven't done already, to come and join me on the Matchday blog. Plenty of updates, but also debate with other fans in there. We'll of course have the analysis and reaction post-match as well. Paddy will be speaking to David Wagner. I'll obviously be doing my verdict on, if you're watching on the YouTube channel as well. So plenty of content for you on this beautiful Friday night on Teesside. I jest. It's absolutely belting it down with rain. So let's see what we get. Let's hope it's not a prophetic fallacy. That's what they call it, isn't it? There you go. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again very soon.